What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and tonight we're going to be going through some alarming new updates for Black Ops 6, Season 3, and even more. Definitely stay tuned. But I want to thank everybody out there who tuned in to today's episode of the Bombshell Podcast. We had a very special guest, Donuts, a phenomenal content creator. Really recommend checking him out. In case you guys missed the episode, the Bombshell Podcast playlist is going to be linked down below in this video's description. But in the background, we have some gameplay of the brand new Endurance Mosh Pit. So in case you guys missed my live stream yesterday, a brand new Mosh Pit did release in multiplayer. Not sure how long it's actually going to last. Hopefully it gets added permanently into quick play, because when you hop into this Mosh Pit, you're going to get double score and a doubled time limit no matter what mode you're playing, whether it's TDM, Domination, Kill Confirmed, even Hardpoint, and you get a good map selection through this playlist as well. Dropped several nukes, got some real high kill gameplays. I think if anything, this is the playlist you want to be in if it comes down to certain camel challenges that you'd prefer not to do in face-off, or if you just want to get some real high kill games, even some nukes. This playlist is fantastic, and honestly, Warzone needs a playlist like this for the Abyss camel grind, but that's a discussion for a different time. It was also confirmed that the Endeavor COD Endowment Tracer Pack is also back in Black Ops 6 for a limited time. As a reminder, all proceedings from this pack do go to veterans. This is one of the first bundles that did release back during the launch window of Black Ops 6. It featured the first Tracer blueprints and a cool Milsim-like operator skin. But earlier this afternoon, a fairly concerning report did pop up, which is an Activision job listing. Now, I just want to make really clear, I'm not trying to produce doom and gloom with this video, but I do want to raise awareness on something that could be problematic if it's the worst case scenario. So here's what's going on. Activision has posted a job listing for a senior director and game security to lead a team of engineers and reverse engineers, Windows kernel developers, and machine learning experts to tackle the anti-cheat space in Call of Duty. Now, let's go over the best case scenario here. They already have an internal hire, and this was just done for the sake of compliance in the state of California. The worst case scenario would be that somebody who was in charge of Ricochet and was probably meant to meet some deadlines for Season 2 and 3 Ricochet updates is now no longer there, and they're trying to fill this position as soon as possible. Now, is it likely that this had anything to do with a delay of our third season? I doubt it, but then again, at the same time, considering how rough things have been with Warzone and rank play specifically, I almost wouldn't doubt if they want to absolutely tackle any Ricochet issues before April 3rd so that Verdansk does release in a good state. It's worth pointing out that it's probably unlikely that we're going to get Battle Royale rank support day one with Season 3. They'll probably bring out Verdansk ranked play during the mid-season. I don't think Urzikstan's going to stay live for ranked play either, so it might be half a season where there just isn't any Warzone ranked. And what does that mean? You'll probably see an influx of cheaters if Ricochet isn't fixed within regular pubs of Verdansk. Not that cheaters aren't already in pubs, because they do exist, but a majority of them are 100% within ranked play and multiplayer and ranked play for Warzone because of the status, leaderboards, rewards, and some people just want to ruin the experience for others, of course. Now, I'm assuming Activision will put out a statement in the next few days because of the controversy this has kind of started in regards to whether or not this is backfill from a previous director, or is this a brand new position they've created because they haven't been able to tackle the Ricochet issues as efficiently as they wanted to. Now, I brought this up in my initial video when the season got delayed. We're kind of in this sudden death mode now, where when the season does come out after a 2-week delay, it almost has to be perfect, because if something is wrong, any little bug is going to go nuclear. It's going to create a storm online and will obviously create additional controversy on top of the one that already exists. And I get it, people are frustrated and have been pretty impatient with the delay of our third season. After waiting not only for the extra 2-week delay for the season to drop, but the fact that Warzone also didn't get any content within Season 2. There was good quality of life updates, for sure, some good stability fixes, and some things folks are waiting for, but when it comes to actual content, whether it's LTMs or big events or anything substantial in Warzone, the mode didn't really get much. So what I'm really hoping for is that this is just a coincidence that they've already filled the position but just released the job listing. Either way, regardless if the position is now filled, it has me wondering, right? In recent weeks, if somebody left that position and was replaced by somebody else, who will be the person responsible for ensuring the anti-cheat gets the updates that it needs? That's something we're thinking about, because what if the person who left just for some reason couldn't figure it out, or just got put in a position where they're like, hey, I'm just better off leaving because this is an absolute mess mess. I really wonder what happened. I mean, I think a lot of us out there would probably want to be a fly on the wall to know what is really going on with Ricochet, and I know this is unrelated. Obviously, Raven doesn't work on Ricochet, nor does Treyarch, but I almost feel like Warzone has kind of been sidelined a little bit the past few months, simply because Raven might be fully focusing on a Black Ops 7 campaign right now. But of course, that is completely unconfirmed and just a guess at this moment. But I did say this on the recent podcast, I feel like the reputation of Black Ops 6 has absolutely been stained because of not just Warzone really, but really just the Ricochet and anti-cheat drama altogether, and any AI usage doesn't make it any better either. So looking at the launch window of BO6, people were generally pretty happy with the game, no matter if it was campaign, zombies, or multiplayer. I mean, zombies had the least controversial launch in Treyarch history. Let's just point that out right now. And like I've also said before, if the only complaints you're seeing for multiplayer are that the maps are bad or that SBMM's too sweaty, then you know the game is in a pretty solid state with minimal issues. It wasn't until the integration with ranked play and then Warzone to when controversy really erupted when it comes to the anti-cheat and a number of other problems. And yeah, I get it. New bugs get introduced every update. That happens all the time, and you would hope that only gets better. But I think expectations are real high right now for this third season, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm nervous about how the launch is going to go with the return of OG Verdansk, with the removal of Urzikstan, and probably the removal of ranked play. How will the anti-cheat be improved before April the 3rd? Now the good news is, as Detonated also reported, several cheat providers have since been shut down or sued in the last couple of weeks, so I think this is a good step as well, because I'm not sure what's taken so long with some of these cheat providers to be taken down, especially some of them that go ahead and just rebrand under a different name. I mean, those people have balls, because I don't understand how these people just keep coming out of the woodwork and coming up with newer and newer strategies of how to promote cheats into the world. I mean, there's thousands of people. I mean, obviously be upset with the game first, with the current anti-cheat, but also be upset with the people out there who keep buying these cheats. Who are the people that keep using these cheats? That's something I would like to know. At a certain point, it kind of feels like some of the folks out there that continuously spread toxicity in the community are probably the same people that secretly buy cheats but never say anything. I don't know. I mean, there's no telling who these people are, but that's something you never really see much discussion about. The people themselves who keep buying the cheats, right? I think it's sad, number one, that the game's even in a state where people are able to buy cheats that easily. That's number one. I'm not denying that. But honestly, why do people keep feeling the need to ruin the game? And I wonder if they're the same people again that create these echo chambers on social media that game bad, game hacked, game is broken, you know, COD is done. I wonder if those people are one and the same. I genuinely would love to know. And without getting too personal with it, I don't think many Call of Duty creators, including myself, could continue to do this full time if we just kept making videos about the same tired old boring topics. SBMM, the anti-cheat, Ricochet, these bugs. We'll address things when they're relevant, when there's updates, when it makes sense to do so. Then we go right back to the content that the audience subscribed to us for, if that makes sense. Now, I also want to follow up on something. Speaking of SBMM, which I mentioned earlier, there was an interview that was conducted over with Insider Gaming a couple of weeks back. I was going to make a separate video on it, but this is such a tired old topic that actually works perfectly for this video, to be honest, and obviously as a podcast topic. This is something that I've addressed many times in the past. Nobody's happy when their lobbies get sweaty, and like I mentioned before, people are only getting better at first-person shooters, but that doesn't really mean that the matchmaking isn't also problematic. So Charlie Olson, a veteran software programmer who spent about a decade at Raven Software in 2 stints, wrote the matchmaking rating algorithm, aka the MMR, for Call of Duty's skill-based matchmaking system. Tom Henderson went ahead and interviewed him, and I'll leave the article linked down below. In short, in case you guys don't want to read the article, SBMM isn't going anywhere, and the system that is currently in place is optimizing player engagement and probably increasing some store revenue. On top of that, the white paper that Activision released a few months back is correct, according to this individual. So for those that were saying, oh, it's fake info and they're lying to us, whatever you want to think, this individual who worked at Raven is saying it's true. Now, you can also be someone that says, hey, I don't really trust Charlie, who this interview was conducted with. All right, in that case, then you're probably not going to listen any further in this video. But Olsen did say in the interview that doesn't mean everyone should just shut up and like SBMM. Also continued by saying that there could be a solution with the current matchmaking system, and it's something that Exclusive Ace brought up many months back, which is just providing transparency on what your skill rating is. Instead of having to go ahead and request your skill rating data from Activision, the game should just show it to you just so you know what to expect when you get into specific lobbies, because somebody's rank doesn't necessarily mean anything if they're level 500 or prestige 3. The time somebody put in to get that XP doesn't exactly reflect their skill, but their skill rating would be a good indicator at how talented that player might be, which would in turn place them in some tougher lobbies. He was quoted by saying, "The massive problem with SBMM is that you don't know what league you're in anymore, and SBMM takes away the sense of skill and mastery. There's less skill feedback, stats don't matter as much, KD is less of a bragging right, it's a serious design problem, really." Now, as I've always said before, if I'm going to get into a sweaty lobby, fine, right? I understand. My issue is the teammates that I'm playing with. Are they going to be somewhat on par with how I perform or the enemies, so that it's kind of an even-based match? Most of the time, as you've experienced, that's not the case. You'll get teammates that need to be carried while you're going up against 3, 4, 5 other people at once who are bunny hopping, using meta weapons, and probably are playing as if they're in a CDL tournament. Austin also mentioned that a good solution to this could also be rewarding players with more XP for being better at the game, but did mention that the lack of bandwidth that studios have to consider new ideas outside of the lead studio makes such pitches an uphill battle, especially coming from a non-designer. So it's not like people internally haven't sent messages upwards to say, hey, this really isn't working all that great, or this is becoming more controversial than it needs to be. Now, we all know Activision has cracked down on VPN usage, two-boxing, the works, so it's become harder for people to work around the current matchmaking system. But what I'm thinking here is that the EOMM, the engagement optimized matchmaking, whatever it is they have right now is working. And you can argue, oh, that can't be true because the game is dead and the player count's fallen off. I can make a whole video about that again, right? Using Steam numbers is completely useless. The game is still top charts on console every single month. If it wasn't, then we can talk. But just going off of basic data, I don't benefit from the player base being any higher. I don't own this franchise, but yeah, obviously with the more players probably playing would mean more people that are likely watching. But as far as I can tell, lots of people are still playing if the game is #1 on console every single month. Like I said, that's just the data that's out there. We don't have the exact numbers in front of us, and if Warzone shuts down, then yeah, that's still telling for the Warzone community. We'll address that again in a separate video later. But if you look back at that report when the game first came out, apparently this game broke all the records in the world. So if it had the most amount of players during a launch window, then what does that mean mathematically? It's bound to have the biggest drop-off because every game has a drop-off after a set period of time. People move on to other games, or the current game isn't getting enough updates, so people move on. That's what's bound to happen. So like I said, people keep trying to use this got you moment with the Steam numbers as if it really means anything. Clearly people in suits are happy with what SBMM is currently providing the company, or else they would have changed it by now. So once again, I don't like talking about these tired, boring old topics, but whenever there's updates or new information to discuss, I'll of course keep you guys in the loop. Now, I'd also like to conclude by saying this is not me being in defense of the current matchmaking. I think it does need a lot of work, and I agree with the proposed solution from the interviewee in regards to how we should be able to see our skill rating so that we know where we identify within the algorithm. I just almost consider this a quote-unquote non-issue at this point, because I don't think, no matter how vocal anybody is really, we're ever really going to see a change to this algorithm if it keeps producing successful engagement each season, year after year. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on the brand new updates in regards to the Ricochet Anticheat? Are you hopeful for a strong launch with Season 3? Plus, let me know how you're feeling about the interview regarding SBMM. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.